Hey, welcome, friends and family. Super excited to be here with you again today as KC and I work through how to win friends and influence people. Guess what? That is something that's never going to go out of style. But unfortunately, in a lot of people's life, it's something that's never come to style.
Right.
KC and I have had some really wonderful talks. I think of the book of Proverbs, it says, iron sharpens iron. So that's what we're here to do. We're here to get sharper. And I don't know that any of us come out of the womb just super sharp, right? Like we're babies. And then we grow to certain ages, and as we continue to grow and develop, hopefully we're getting better at these skills. But the truth is, a lot of these skills are going to come out of the homes that we grew up in. How you seen your mom and dad act or not act, react or be proactive. These are all kind of where we get this. So, for me, KC, growing up, my home life wasn't the best, and a little bit about that. Mom was kind of bitter and hurt. And so for the first 15 years, I lived with her. My dad and mom lived together for just a little while growing up. But what I seen there was the one that shouted the loudest was the one that won.
Yeah.
So I carried that over. Then at 15, I moved in with my dad. He did construction. And it was heavy equipment, pavers, dump trucks, backhoes. So you had to yell. That was just coming anyhow. But in hot days, standing on asphalt and being out there in that construction environment, man, there was a lot of stress and a lot of arguing going on out there. So I don't think that I was properly trained how to get on with people. And so at 48, it's kind of cool to be able to go back, pull out the stuff maybe that wasn't right, and help infuse the things that were. And I'm not like saying I regret my childhood. I don't. I'm thankful, man. A lot of good things come from those situations too. This may have been an area that was a blank. I could not talk to my team members here the way my dad talked to me.
Right.
And those other construction workers on the job sites. It just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So,
I get it.
So today we're talking about in chapter 8, a formula that will work wonders for you. And Casey, it starts off by saying, remember that other people may be totally wrong, but they don't think so, and don't condemn them. Any fool can do that. Try to understand them. Only wise, tolerant, exceptional people even try to do that. And you told a story today. And I'm not going to go into that story. I won't steal your thunder, but you shared that story with us today. Can you talk to us a little bit about the bathtub story?
Yeah. Well, so the point of this chapter that I got out of this chapter and kind of what we're alluding to here and what we're going to do there is understanding that you don't know somebody's background. You don't know their situation all the time. And oftentimes, even if you've spent a lot of time with that person, you may not truly know the background. And sometimes I've come to learn that maybe that person doesn't even know their background as well as they thought they did either. And so, there's always learning and growing to go through that. So the story is, I worked with a client back when I kind of first started, probably 4 years ago now. And worked with them and we would go look at homes, and we'd get into the home and it would have, either one walk-in shower or maybe both of them was a walk-in shower, didn't have a tub, like a combo tub. And they would immediately just say, no, this ain't the right one. They go on, I thought, okay. Of course, I didn't piece together it was the showers at the time. I just knew that after they looked at both the bathrooms, it was nowhere out. And then we'd go to the next one. And then they do the same thing, and then the same thing, and the same thing. And then I thought, there's something there. There's a connection there, and there's a pattern, So, started asking questions, and, we come to find out that in that questioning process, that hadn't come up before, and all the questions we had prior to, is they actually had an experience where one of their kids had gotten pretty bad burnt in a shower by, turning it too far to the hot side, and now they were scared of being in the shower. They only took baths because the shower kind of traumatized them from that, and and then it made sense. There's no point looking at homes that don't have a tub option, right? So that's again, if you don't take the time to try to figure that out and kind of understand from their point, you're like, It's got what you. It's a bathroom. It's here.
It's got its uses. It's
but there's always
practical.
backgrounds, and there's. I'm sure if I thought hard enough, I could think of some other stories that maybe fit that a little better. But that is one instance, that does fit that, and understanding that, the way I grew up and the way I view things may not be the same as yours.
Right.
And we got to talk about that, and if we can be professional adults about it, then usually we can find a common ground. And that doesn't mean that we're even going to agree when we reach that common ground. We may still disagree, but at least we kind of understand each
where we're
other's
coming
side.
from and why we see that, the perspective of it.
Yeah.
It's really good, man. So, just practically, sometimes the best way to discover why people think the way they think or why they are creating distance sometimes when we're trying to communicate or connect with people. Usually it just takes asking a few questions to get to the root of that.
Yep.
But a lot of times maybe I know for me at times it's been easy just to think quickly, just X them off, or I'm not going to really take the time. There's people out there that can use my help or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of just bypass. It's laziness on my part is what I think it is. I bypass the effort that it would take to try to see it from their side. It's just quicker and easier to do my thing.
Yeah, and I think that's a general consensus with most people. Again, the things that are in this book and the things that we're learning is about being a better overall person, right? I mean, this book is intended to be a sales training book, but it's also great for life training, everyday life training, and again, if we lean on our natural wants and abilities as humans, as unlearned creatures, then the world gets a lot uglier because it's not natural to want. I mean, it's natural to be dog eat dog. It's natural to be my needs over yours. It's natural to be, all those things. I mean, you look at lions, or you don't fill in the blank with any other wild animal you want to, coyotes or mountain lions or whatever. It's their survival that matters. They're not worried about, but
and that's completely the animalistic nature. And there might be a word that we use if we've been around church long enough, the flesh. It's kind of a natural thing to take care of the flesh and put me first. It's very unnatural to try to seek out how you can best serve others, how you can best add value to other people. Right. The cool thing is that really in this day and age, either works, but one works better.
One works a lot better.
Yes, because when your motive is, how can I add value to this person? What can I do to seek a relationship that's going to be healthy and add value to these people? Then that's when we're going to make quantum leaps in getting ahead.
Yeah.
Where if all we do is think about ourselves, it don't take long to kind of realize that's pretty shallow and you tap out pretty quick. I think that may be the whole reason why God helps us with families and children, and again, I see it in my own children sometimes. I just want to bypass the nonsense, like, don't be crying, don't, act like this. But then I'm 48. It's hard to remember when I was 11, when I was 14. So to slow down enough to ask maybe questions of, as simple as, why are you scared to sleep without the light on? You know what I mean? But to take time to really try to see it from their perspective and understand, even if they're wrong, right? Like, they think, well, monster is going to jump out and get me. Well, we all know that's crazy. No monster is going to jump out, but maybe one day I felt like that. So trying to take time to understand people and to be that kind of person versus the one that just, hey, it's my way or the highway, Jack.
Yep. Yeah, and we all know people that are like that, right? That are, it's going to be my way. And we all, I think to an extent, just say, well, that's just how they are or whatever else. I think most people just kind of learn to tolerate that, or they don't, right? Or they just don't associate.
Yeah.
This is the two options you have.
Yes.
You either tolerate it or you don't. There's not an in between with that. So, the whole point of this particular chapter, and what it's teaching, with dealing with other people, is understanding that we don't know where they come from. We don't know why they feel that blue's the best color in the world. Mm-hmm. We don't know why maybe they don't use the end piece of bread. We don't know why. And these are trivial things, but again, do that to say that maybe we don't understand why they're not comfortable getting on the phone and talking to somebody, mm-hmm. or we don't understand why they're scared to go to the doctor, mm-hmm. or we don't understand why, even though we know that they need to buy a home and not rent because it is going to be better for them in the long run because of our experience with the situation, but they're not willing to make that move, not understanding why they're not willing to make that move, or
once you can, it's almost like a key, right? Mm-hmm. I remember a long time ago when I first got born again, August the 8th, 1998, man, I got radically saved and God really came in and supernaturally touched my life. And at that point, I was so on fire for the Lord, man. I wanted everybody to see what I had seen. And my dad, I was living with my dad at that time. Again, I was 22, had moved out from my mom's house at 15, moved in with my dad at 20, at that age. And it was kind of night and day. Mom, you couldn't get away with anything. Dad, you could do about everything, but you did need to work when you were on that mm-hmm. job site. And I was so like that spiritual battle of like getting Dad to see the value of going to church and reading our Bible and things like that. Plus, we had this whole reality of the machinery Dad used was always kind of patched together. Like he wouldn't go buy anything brand new. He'd just keep patching mm-hmm. whatever he had. We had a bucket truck, brother, that was going down the Dole Highway in Sparta, kind of over there where Jim Roy Haley's old store used to be. It's orange now. And I noticed that when I was trying to pump the brakes, it wasn't stopping. I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. This vehicle right now, the brakes ain't working. And I'm about to come through a stop sign right there in mm-hmm. 70, and I'm coming. Yeah. So I'm about to go through this stop sign. I'm pumping the brakes, they ain't working. And so thank God there was nobody coming, and I got to go right through that stop sign. We get to the job site, just kind of roll it on in, and the brakes were, at best, they would slow it down. So eventually we get to the job site, not too far from there, and I'm underneath this truck, KC, and I'm really upset. Like I'm upset with my dad. I'm like, how can we continue to bring vehicles out here like this? And I'm also struggling with the whole, why doesn't Dad come to know the Lord thing, right? Casey, I'm underneath there. Dad doesn't want to talk either. He's upset. He just throws me a wrench. He's like, just unlock that underneath the vehicle. And I don't remember what it was, but I just remember it was visual for me at that time. And I'm praying. I'm like, God, why is Dad like this? Why can't he, why are we always running old equipment? Why isn't he wanting to come see the church the way I see it? And so I'm underneath this thing, and I've got this big wrench. I'm so frustrated, so angry. And I'm taking everything I have, and this thing will not budge, man. I mean, I've got this big old long wrench. I'm pushing it. It just won't budge. So I'm taking everything I got, and all of a sudden, man, it pops. And Casey, after that, it was just like that. It came right off. But I think the Lord showed me that day. He's like, man, initially, it's going to be hard to get your dad. Initially, he's kind of hard. Mm-hmm. But after it pops, it's just going to be simple. And I think that was the way it worked with me and Dad. Initially, he needed to come to the belief on his own. He needed to see that riding old equipment through, could be dangerous. So he needed to come to that reality for himself. And it wasn't my job maybe to do it for him, but also that when he did get it, he got it. And so I think that's the way it is. When we learn to see things from people's point of view, that if we're willing to take a little time, put mm-hmm. forth the effort, and again, for me, a lot of times it's laziness. I just don't want to put forth the effort. But when we're willing to put forth that effort, then and ask questions and try to see it from their point of view. My dad was raised Catholic. They spoke Latin in the church he went to all of his life. So he's seen religion totally different than I would have seen
right.
it. But the cool thing is that once we choose to see it from their point of view, man, it changes. And that can be the key or the wrench that kind of unloosens things to where now, like you said earlier, we can have a relationship. Maybe we don't agree on everything. But man, I didn't grow up in your house, you didn't grow up in mine. I haven't walked in your shoes, you didn't walk in mine. Maybe if I take a day to think about that or a little time to consider that, then maybe we can at least kind of start to bridge the gap. And from there, I'm going to learn a lot mm-hmm. if I'm not too hard-headed, too prideful, or too lazy. to put forth the effort to do that.
Yeah, and one thing that I think, to kind of get to where we're wrapping up with this, is I think one thing that makes it difficult to take time to see things from the other person's point of view is you got to close your mouth and open your ears.
Mm.
And we have a hard time doing that as people. I admit it. I mean,
I'm in
that same bucket.
Guilty.
You know what I mean? But in order to try to see it from their point of view, one, you got to step outside yourself, and two, you got to shut up.
Yeah. So it ain't always all about you. I'm talking to me. And when we're willing to put ourselves to the side and listen and try to see it from their point of view, things can change. Guys, that's in your relationships with your husbands and wives, with your children, with your business partners. That's in everything. And when somebody feels heard and feels valued, you're just going to get a lot more out of that relationship than when they feel railroaded or uncared for.
And it still doesn't mean that you're going to agree on everything when you're done. And you got to be okay with that.
Doesn't mean it when somebody needs to be held accountable, you don't hold them accountable either, you know, but you do that in love. You do that by asking questions, not by just railroading them.
Right.
All right, guys. So thank you very much. Appreciate y'all coming and listening in this month of February 2025. When we can do anything to help you, please let us know. Thank you.